Hello, welcome to The BIM Student. I'm your host, Chetna Chauhan. Have you ever wondered what is the single most powerful agency that can make big grassroots level changes on digital transformation in AEC? According to me, it's our municipalities, the organization that gives us permission to build and develop. Our today's guest is someone who has had first-hand experience and has actively participated in digital transformation in AEC. He has witnessed change from paper to data-rich models firsthand. He has been an architectural practitioner and working on a variety of projects for several years. Past 5 years, he transitioned from a private sector to working with City of Windsor's building department as a plan examiner and now as a digital transformation specialist. In his role, he's responsible for overseeing building department's technology adoption process. He's also helping building department establish policies that can facilitate cities' work with development service to improve permitting process. Our today's discussion will revolve around BIM adoption in our municipalities and what can be done to expedite the process. Let's talk more about this with our today's guest, Leslie Wright. Thank you so much, Leslie, for agreeing to be on this podcast, for taking out time and educating me and our viewers and our audience about your subject matter. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Do you quickly want to give us a short background about your personal journey and how you stumbled on BIM? Did you get trained? All of that. We want to know from your side.
For sure. So my college graduation age was just the early 90s. So I was coming into the design field when firms were just transitioning out of paper into CAD. And back then, I think I started as early as AutoCAD 8 or 9. So it was very early in the software use for drafting. So through the 90s, there was a lot of changes in firms, and I was involved in that in the firm I was with at the time, that we were transitioning from paper to CAD. So I was very lucky early on that my years of hand drafting was very limited, and I got to be on that cutting edge at the time of moving over to CAD. Then in the 2000s, I had opportunities to work with other design firms that were starting to use Revit, and I transitioned over my work as well to Revit. So I was mid to late 2000s is when I started using Revit. The early years of using Revit was just more better documentation. You could use, the firms I was working with found that it was a better way to keep track of their projects, but weren't quite using all the tools for BIM. They were still in development at that point as well. Around 2014, I worked for a firm in Denver and was fortunate enough to work for them for a couple of years. They were one of the early adoptive firms for Revit and the BIM technology. And so they were the most advanced firm I'd worked for to that date. And so I was fortunate enough to work on a project that had designers and engineers and contractors and multiple disciplines all working on the same building, same model, spread it all over North America. So there was people from Texas to New York. I was here in Ontario. We all were using the same model. So that was my biggest exposure to BIM at the time. In 2016, I left the design side of the industry and moved to the municipal side. So I joined the City of Windsor building department and became a plans examiner. And in 2017 to 2018, started with our department to move to a digital plans review platform. And going on to today that we've launched our digital plans review platform, and it's been quite successful.
Oh, that's great. And I think you're one of a few people who've seen the transition. Like if we talk to people today, a lot of us have not seen the hand drafting a lot. But you have seen that transition from hand drafting to where now artificial intelligence is also driving building design. So it's how do you look at this change?
It's a great change. My approach to when I was a designer and even now is looking for an easier way, more effective way to do my work, and to have that ability to, I did a lot of residential design. I spent a lot of time explaining to a couple how a house would look from a flat 2D image. When I moved over to 3D, that time just disappeared because they looked at it and go, oh, I understand it now, because it had depth, it had detail, it had the tools there to communicate better. Some designs get so complicated that you don't always catch in a 2D format that you have interferences. And to work in a 3D environment is certainly an effective way to do that. So advancements in technology have always been forefront in what I've done, and I think it's an effective way for people to improve their industries.
So I know that you've been driving a lot of innovations. You've been driving a lot of big digital change at the City of Windsor and the municipalities. We did talk about that it is easier for an architect or a designer to explain it to clients how important it is to work in a BIM environment. But how important is it for municipalities to adopt digital innovation?
We spend a lot of time in our plans review to understand what a designer is trying to communicate to us. So our time is limited to reviewing their drawings. Sometimes there's not enough information, or you're not in. A designer has worked on it for weeks or months before they get it to us, and we have a short period of time to decide whether it meets code compliance. So there are some times that the information provided is not enough for us to quickly make those decisions. So I can see moving forward and using more BIM technologies being an aid to municipalities to understanding what the designer was thinking, because you can see it in a different light and understand it.
Right. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the different initiatives that are happening at City of Windsor? How are you and your team aiding all those digital transformations at City of Windsor?
Yeah, certainly. So about 2018, I believe, we moved into our new city hall. Building a building is expensive for municipalities, so space is a premium. So in our old offices, we had more room to lay out paper. So when space is a premium, you start spending your money. Cost of construction is more expensive than technology.
Yes.
So we knew that we had to move to a new format to do our work that in the constraints of our smaller spaces, and using technology was an effective way to go. So that's where we started from. The biggest challenge was that we worked in a paper environment, that architects, engineers, and the design community had already moved on to a digital environment. They sent PDFs to their customers. They would send it to the printer, print it out, and then a pile of paper would land in our office. So that was our first real starting point, was to move from paper to digital. And the beginning of 2019, the building department went completely paperless. That the plans could be submitted electronically, we could review them. The downside, it was a very cumbersome process because we hadn't really built our true system that we were working on. So It's been a 2.5 year process to get an effective e-permitting system that
Mm-hmm.
would not only be effective for us but effective for the public, and that's what we're starting to use today.
Mm-hmm.
But municipalities have to start walking before they run. So as we look across Ontario, we see municipalities now adopting electronic submissions, in whether it's by email or somewhere, USB drives. At least that's a start for municipalities to start building upon and improving their digital submissions and how they deal with it. Um, so that was our starting point, and really it's been our focus now for the last 3 years to provide a system that is not only for building department, but it is also for our planning department and our public works department. That all three departments are in the same system.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything that is needed to promote development in the community. That the applicants, the municipal workers, our inspectors out in the field, right from start to beginning, are all in the same software and can communicate there and have access to all the information required uh, wherever they're located, whether they're out in the job site or in the office, that they have that information. So that's where Windsor has put their focus to the last few years.
Okay. Yeah, and I can see that going forward, City of Windsor might be an inspiration for all other municipalities and cities, that this is the way to go. So it's really amazing to see all the things that you guys are doing over there. Like I myself, over past few years, especially during the COVID, I've seen that there has been a lot of change of the mindset towards moving digital, accepting digital, and just getting away from paper. What do you think, other than the technology, are the big challenges municipalities are or will be facing in future when they are adopting digital transformation and moving to digital platforms for submissions and permitting?
A couple of years ago, I would have answered that change was probably going to be the biggest obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
But as you alluded to, COVID has changed that on us. It has forced us to change faster. People have embraced technology a lot faster over the last year, and have seen that what we feared in the change may not be so bad. I mean, there's enough other things around us that is bad, but the technology change is not so bad anymore. Um, because that would have been the biggest stumbling block for um, municipalities in Ontario to make those changes. And what, like you said, a lot of people have had to move quickly on it. What would have probably have happened without COVID, it probably would have taken 5 to 8 years
Hmm.
at best guess. And now we see a majority doing it in less than that. And every municipality has had to approach it to see what works best for them in the short period. Some have short period goals, some have long period goals. So that would have been the biggest challenge. Now I find the challenges we have is we have a wealth of information out there, but we don't have easy access to it. And so we have building departments are the last step before construction starts.
Right.
In our building codes, we have what's called applicable laws, and we're the final gatekeepers to say, yes, it applies to all the applicable laws. You've gone through all these steps, you've got all the approvals, we can release the building permit. So I think now the biggest challenge is that we have multiple governing groups across Ontario that are either municipal, county-wide, provincial-wide, and federal-wide, that are all players in trying to get the start for construction. And the next challenge will be for us to find ways to work together in this digital world to effectively submit the approvals in a timely fashion and move on and get it done. Now that we're not dealing with paper, people have an expectation that we can do it faster, but I think that's going to be our largest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The second challenge that's kind of ties with that is funding. At the end of the day, it's the development community that pay for these softwares.
Right.
Municipalities can, building departments can charge what it costs to issue a permit and to do their services under the Building Code Act. But it's going to be challenging as we add technologies and there's a cost behind it. Who's going to pay for those effectively? And small municipalities won't have the funding like Toronto might to make these initiatives. So we in Ontario we have such a wide range of sizes of departments and funding models that it's going to be difficult for the small ones to compete to be able to offer services like the large ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to have a common environment in Ontario is that we're going to need a way to fund this. And the first steps are going to be challenging because we got to learn how to do it before we know how to do it, and there'll be a cost to do it, but who's going to pay for it?
Yes, no, I hear you.
It's expensive for innovation.
Yes, of course, there is a time investment, there is a money investment, there are a lot of an investment, like people have to be personally invested also into the change, into getting even being committed to the change is a big investment.
Yes.
So no.
Even for a city like Windsor to go from a paper environment to a digital environment, then invest. You're no longer working with simple desktop computers now. Now you need systems with that are more expensive computer systems that have larger screens and more memory, and all that comes at a cost. And it wouldn't be bad if you're buying one or two, but when you start looking at the number of staff that you have to, change their computer system, that alone is a large
it's a
cost.
Big cost. Yeah,
for really any municipality in any size. So there's there when you look at the basic of changes, there's a significant cost to it.
Yes, and you know what? It might also be that GTA in general is so now densely populated. It also might just incentivize people moving out of GTA so that other municipalities can get more population, can face more development, because I think more people reside in a place adds to taxes, adds to the investment in that. So and as it is, looking at totally unrelated, but looking at the housing prices and looking at where GTA is moving, it makes a lot of sense that government and people invest into other parts of Ontario so that there should be a playing level for everybody, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I get it. And you know what? I have, Leslie, so many questions about what else can we do, and there are so many questions that I have, but we want to keep this podcast really interesting and short, and I want you for another episode, I want to have another chat with you. So we would be moving to our next section, which is the Impossible Questionnaire. This questionnaire is specially designed with an intent that we pick up the topics that our guests are not subject matter experts of. So, but they're still related to AEC. They're still related to construction industry. They're still related. So we are trying to, and what it does is that this helps me research more before the podcast, and we all learn a lot out of it. And this is the most fun part of this podcast. Let's move to our last section, which is Impossible Questionnaire, and 5 questions I have for you. Let's see how many you can answer.
All right.
Okay. So my first question is, which one of the following is not a design authoring BIM software? Revit, Solibri, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, Open Buildings Designer. So the keyword is design authoring.
Yeah. I can knock off a couple really quick. I'm down to Solibri and What was the last one you said? Because I don't recognize it.
Open buildings designer.
Open building designer. So I'm guessing it's delivery.
Yes.
Okay. Word designer, kind of.
You're the first one who answered the first question correct. Until now, I've recorded 7, 8 podcasts. Nobody has been able to answer the first question, and everybody has different questions though. But yeah, I gotta up my game from the next question on. Okay, what is CCTC15?
Oh, I don't have that memorized. I know what CCDC is, but I don't know what the 15 section is.
Okay, so
and you're going to tell me, and I'm going to be embarrassed.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So CCTC 15 is a contract that defines the terms of design services between the design builder and the consultant.
Yes. So, and you know, people listening to this should realize that usually architects and engineers use those forms.
Right.
And so my role in the last as a designer was very seldom. I don't have the title as architect, so that's why
I know.
I never use that one. I would use the CCDC for the construction.
Yes, those are like the CCTC 2, 3. Those are the first few that are really popular. But yeah, CCTC 15 is. See, that's what I'm saying. That's the whole intent of this whole.
Definitely.
Okay, so you're playing along really well. Next question. In heavy timber frame construction, what is a bent?
I don't know. If I had to say what it was, a bent. It's probably timbers that have been steamed and are multiple layers to create a curve. Not even close. All right.
Not even close. Okay, so a bent is a plane where the columns, beams, rafters, and braces are joined and erected together at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. So next is, how thick should a footing be in relation to the foundation wall thickness?
Oh, that's easy. I get to deal with that all the time. You threw me a soft one. So if a foundation wall is 8 inches thick, then the footing, and this is mostly for residential, if it has a projection of 6 inches, it should have a depth of 6 inches.
Oh, awesome.
It's not related to the thickness of the foundation wall, but how much the projection is.
Okay, close to 50%. Let's go to next question, the last question. Okay, what percentage of the ground slope is the hardest to build on? Like if there is a slope more than this percentage, it's really hard to build on that slope.
I've designed on some pretty tough slopes.
I mean, designing is good. We're talking about building here.
Well, building, probably anything greater than 30% would be a challenge to build on.
You know what? I'll give you this one because by book it says more than 25%. So I'll give you that one. You were pretty close. Not bad, Leslie. I would say you're one of the high scorers of my quiz. You deserve a gift basket for this. Amazing. Thank you so much, Leslie. It has been fun talking to you. Any last comments you want to have before we end this podcast? Anything you want to say at the last?
Well, yeah, I think this is an exciting time for our industry, that we're moving quite quickly with technology from the design side, and the municipalities are catching up and embracing technology. It's going to be exciting the next few years as we're all seeming to be moving towards a more effective way of doing it, and there's several of us trying to figure out how to get there, and it's very exciting to be on that cutting edge. As exciting as it was in the 90s to start using CAD, I'm excited now to see how our industry is changing.
Yes, me too. And looking forward for another episode. I will have you in soon. And next time, I promise my questions are going to be even more tough.
I look forward to it.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.